From selling SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents.
How much money are we talking about?
Mr. Krabs!
62 cents! I'll take the money.
Mr. Krabs!
To renting a home to his mom and charging her full price. There is no doubt that Mr. Krabs is the worst boss under the sea. And in today's video, we're going to crunch the numbers to see just how much in wages he has stolen from his crew. Starting with the time SpongeBob and Squidward discovered Mr. Krabs deducts absurd fees from their paychecks in the episode Squids on Strike. The episode starts out like any other at the Krusty Krab until Squidward discovers something truly unbelievable. After being handed his paycheck, the grumpy squid discovers that Mr. Krabs included deductions for things like breathing, standing, and even existing. As if that wasn't crazy enough, Mr. Krabs threatens to dock their pay anytime he catches them slacking off. That's $21 already stolen from Squidward's pay. But dumb SpongeBob makes it worse by offering his boss $20.50 of his own money. With that kind of decision making, you don't have to wonder why SpongeBob and Patrick are best friends. But let's just say Squidward wasn't happy watching his boss commit a labor crime. So he decided to hit Mr. Krabs with the mother of all strikes at the Krusty Krab. Mr. Krabs tries to act like the strike's a lost cause at first, but eventually he caves. Only to find out SpongeBob got so carried away with revenge that he accidentally turned the Krusty Krab into rubble. So right off the bat, Mr. Krabs isn't just ripping off his only two workers, but they already owe him the massive debt of $426,735 if we compare the Krusty Krab to your average Chick-fil-A. When you add up the paycheck deductions and SpongeBob's donation, that's $41.50 in direct wage theft, plus around $200,000 in property damage if we're being conservative. And we're just getting started. Next up, we have the time SpongeBob SquarePants got fired for the most insane reason in the episode, SpongeBob, You're Fired. For someone who doesn't pay his workers much, Mr. Krabs' greed knows no bounds. And in this episode, the penny-pinching crab took things too far. After crunching the numbers, Mr. Krabs discovers he could save a whole nickel if he just fired SpongeBob.
Fired?
Well, you see, I've been doing some calculating and, crunching the old numbers, and it turns out that I'll save a whole nickel if I cut your salary.
And it doesn't take a genius to guess what the greedy crab did next. Anyone who knows SpongeBob knows that whipping up Krabby Patties is the one thing he lives for. So he is crushed when he loses his job.
SpongeBob, there's two words, and they're not very good. You're fired.
Oh, Mr. What? No, not that. Anything but that.
So, if you could just hand over your spatula. I'll just take that.
After a bit of wallowing, SpongeBob goes from fast food joint to fast food joint to find his place in the world. Now, we've never seen anyone fail that hard at making junk food, but trust me, SpongeBob has no competition in that department. At first, nobody's impressed. But before long, they're all trying to kidnap him because his cooking turns out to be that good. At the end of the day, Mr. Krabs gets his fry cook back, but he still keeps the nickel he owes SpongeBob like the grubby little thief he is. Now that we actually know what SpongeBob makes, it's safe to say Squidward isn't earning a penny more, which makes those paycheck deductions downright criminal. That's another 5 cents Mr. Krabs pocketed. Moving on to more serious crimes under the sea, we have the time Mr. Krabs ripped off his workers even more in graveyard shift. Just before the Krusty Krab closed on a random day, a customer hints that Mr. Krabs could make more money off the back of SpongeBob and Squidward if he stayed open for longer. And of course, being the greedy crustacean he is, Mr. Krabs jumps on the idea, forcing SpongeBob and Squidward to work all night, serving an endless wave of customers.
You mean, if we stayed open later, you'd give us your money?
Sure.
Mr. Squidward, welcome to the night shift. From now on, the Krusty Krab is open 24 hours a day.
For that kind of back-breaking work, you'd expect a bonus or at least a thank you. But nope, this cheapskate doesn't even pay them a single extra penny. The night shift starts out okay with SpongeBob bouncing around like usual, but as soon as darkness rolls in, things start to get really spooky. Luckily for SpongeBob and Squidward, it turns out the monster was just Nosferatu. But they still ended up doing all that extra work without even getting paid a dime. If we estimate they worked an 8-hour night shift with 0 overtime compensation, that is roughly $50 in unpaid wages per employee, bringing Mr. Krabs' theft to around $100 total for the night. As if one impromptu night shift wasn't enough, Mr. Krabs doubles down on a 24-hour shift in fear of a Krabby Patty.
Tumbucket open 23 hours? So, that little piece of flotsam plankton thinks he can stay open longer than me, does he? As of now, the Krusty Krab is open 24 hours!
And it drives SpongeBob completely insane. You'd think that after spending the night at the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob would never want to repeat that again. But nope, he actually jumps for joy when the penny-pinching crab insists on a 24-hour shift to spite Plankton. To make matters worse, Mr. Krabs sets up SpongeBob to flip patties nonstop, proudly proving he's a true genius by going along with it. After what seemed like an eternity without a break, SpongeBob cracks and starts to hallucinate Krabby Patties everywhere.
Hey, I'm too chewy! Holy shrimp, they're everywhere!
This forces him to go see a doctor out of pocket. And of course, it's Plankton in disguise. Even though Plankton's elaborate plan to steal the Krabby Patty formula fails again, SpongeBob still does all that work without getting paid a single cent. That's 2 24-hour shifts without getting paid more than a nickel a day, which amounts to $13 a year for every working day. That's another estimated $100 in unpaid 24-hour labor for both employees combined. Mr. Krabs is really racking up the debt here. For someone who makes so much money selling Krabby Patties, it sounds depressing to think he only pays his workers a nickel a day. But in the episode Penny Foolish, we learn exactly why. It starts out with a trip to the grocery store where we see just how far Mr. Krabs would go to save money. But what really gets the episode going is when he watches SpongeBob pick up what looks like a penny off the floor. Mr. Krabs instantly becomes obsessed with getting that penny back from SpongeBob.
Hey, that's SpongeBob out there. What in blue blazes is that boy up to?
So he whips up some ingenious schemes just to try to get the penny back. Every time he tries to get SpongeBob to let go of the penny, SpongeBob always lets him know he can't afford a penny. Another character would understand that SpongeBob doesn't have a penny to give, but not Mr. Krabs. At the end of the episode, SpongeBob reveals that it wasn't actually a penny, but a piece of old chewing gum, and Mr. Krabs calls it a day. The irony of the episode is that it ended up being a $500 note, which SpongeBob threw away like it wasn't 38 times his yearly wage. That's $500 in what could have been SpongeBob's money. Gone, just like that. And for an absurd wage like that, we can't really blame Squidward for his reaction in Can You Spare a Dime? We've seen Mr. Krabs rip off his workers plenty of times. But when he accused the cranky Squidward of stealing his first dime, that's when he crossed the line. Squidward shocks everyone when he quits the Krusty Krab, and he even refuses to listen to SpongeBob, who tries to get him to beg for his job.
You can't do that to me! I'm your boss!
Not anymore, Mr. Krabs. I quit!
Squidward thought he'd easily snag a new job, but the next time we see the six-legged grump, he was so broke, he was begging for spare change on the street. Being the Mr. Goody Two-Shoes he is, SpongeBob takes him in. But he quickly realizes this was a worse mistake than a Krabby Patty made with a gym sock. At the end of the day, they all end up at the Krusty Krab, and Mr. Krabs pockets every cent of Squidward's owed wages. But if we're being honest, we wouldn't have blamed Squidward if he refused to come back. Imagine handling all the Krusty Krab's cash and getting accused of stealing 2 times your daily salary. If we estimate Squidward was owed at least a few days worth of back pay, that's roughly $10 Mr. Krabs kept for himself. And here's where things get even wilder. As a fry cook for the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob gets exploited every day. But what happens when Mr. Krabs takes this up a notch? Well, we can find the answer to that question in the Krabby Chronicle episode. Here, Mr. Krabs learns about the local paper making a boatload of cash. So he comes up with a cheap scheme to start his own tabloid. And who better to shoulder the entire unpaid burden other than SpongeBob? Because why pay when you can farm it out to clueless SpongeBob? Once they figure out the kinks, the tabloid takes off with SpongeBob sharing fake stories to drive up sales while Mr. Krabs swims in a pool of money. But in classic Krabs fashion, the whole scheme blows up in his face, and poor SpongeBob ends up doing all that work just to have his wages stolen again. If we assume he pays SpongeBob the same wages for working in the tabloid, then that's another nickel he ended up not paying for the work. That's another 5 cents added to the pile. This leads us to the next episode where he really showed us just how greedy he can get when he puts his back into it. In the Bossy Boots episode, Mr. Krabs brings in her daughter Pearl as a new employee to drive up sales. But it backfires spectacularly.
Say hello to me, Pearl.
Hello, Pole.
Hi, guys.
It makes me jolly as a Roger to finally have you aboard the family business.
Pearl's wild makeover ideas turned the Krusty Krab into an unrecognizable fast food circus, complete with new uniforms and furniture. At first, Mr. Krabs goes along with it, but once he realizes how much money he's losing, he completely snaps. He tricks poor SpongeBob into firing her to save face. And once Pearl's gone, Mr. Krabs finally notices how much he blew on redecorating. That's when SpongeBob really shows his stupidity as he actually lets Mr. Krabs dock his pay for an entire year just to make up for it. So, apart from robbing his workers blind, he let SpongeBob pay an extra $13 to make up for his mistake. A full year of SpongeBob's wages at the nickel-a-day rate? That's $13 Mr. Krabs clawed back to cover his own daughter's mistakes. At this point, you might be wondering how SpongeBob and Squidward survive with a money-grubbing boss like Mr. Krabs, but honestly, the truth is way darker than we think. In the episode One Course Meal, we find out that Mr. Krabs doesn't even pay SpongeBob with real money. It might sound crazy at first, but it all starts with Plankton's failed heist of a Krabby Patty. During the heist, Mr. Krabs learns that Plankton is afraid of whales, and Mr. Krabs cooks up another scheme.
I'm hungry.
When Pearl asks for payment for taking part in the scheme, SpongeBob reveals that his greedy employer only pays him with Wacky Bucks. Forget about a livable wage. Mr. Krabs has SpongeBob and Squidward on Monopoly money with his face printed on it. If SpongeBob and Squidward spend 10 years of their lives working at the Krusty Krab, we are looking at over $1 million in stolen wages. But it doesn't even matter because they work for him for free. If SpongeBob and Squidward have been working at the Krusty Krab for 10 years on fake currency, and they should have been making at least that nickel a day we keep joking about, that's $13 a year per employee. Over 10 years, that's $130 each in what they thought they were earning. But here's the kicker. If we're being honest about what they actually deserve to be paid in real money, we're talking about at least $3,650 in stolen wages over those 10 years. Factoring in what a bare minimum employee should actually earn for that kind of work. And just like that, if we add up every scam, docked pay, fake currency scheme, and stolen nickel from all these episodes, Mr. Krabs has stolen around $4,340 in direct wages from SpongeBob and Squidward, plus around $200,000 in property damage. That's over $204,000 total that Mr. Krabs has either stolen or caused his employees to owe him, which is more than most people will make in 5 years of honest work. We know we started this video to try to calculate just how much Mr. Krabs has stolen from his workers, but that crab needs to be thrown in a cell for how much he owes SpongeBob and Squidward. If you manage to watch this video to the end without reporting Mr. Krabs to the Bikini Bottom police, then make sure to hit the subscribe button before Mr. Krabs charges you a viewing fee.